ẹ mà tún káàbọ̀ gbogbo ojú tó ń wò mí pátápátá bẹ́ẹ̀ mi ṣe ń sọ ojú tẹ́ fi ń wò mí ò ní fọ́ etí tẹ́ fi ń gbọ́ mi kò ní di. Olúwalógbọ́n TV rèé, ẹ jọ̀ọ́ ẹ bá ń ṣíà fídíò yìí ní YouTube wa àní Facebook page wa Shito Music, Olúwalógbọ́n TV lórí YouTube. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ ẹ bá ń tẹ subscriber, ẹ tẹ notification bell. Mo mà tó ń gbọ́ nǹkan kan ni, mo rí nǹkan kan ni tí mo fẹ́ kí gbogbo wa ó jọ gbọ́. Ó lágbára gan o, abẹ́yìn ti gbọ́ tẹ́lẹ̀, àbórílẹ̀-èdè náà kọ́ la wà mọ́. Mo ń gbọ́ lérèfé tẹ́lẹ̀ ní èyí tí mo gbọ́ yìí ó kí gan. Ẹni tó ṣojú ẹ̀ tó ṣẹlẹ̀ sí tó ń gán mọ bó ṣe ṣẹlẹ̀ gan tó wà ń bẹ́ẹ̀ tó jẹ́ pé Ọlọ́run ló gba ẹ̀mí ẹ̀ tí ò jẹ́ kẹ́mi rẹ̀ ò bọ́. Bí àwọn DSS àti wọ́n sọ pé nílùú Ìbàdàn gan DSS Ìbàdàn àtàwọn sójà bíi 200 bí wọ́n ṣe lè fọ́lé olóyè Sunday Igboho, gbogbo ẹ̀ pátápátá lẹ́gbọ̀ọ́. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ ẹ farabalẹ̀ ẹ bá ń gbọ́ dáadáa. Èmi ò wá láti wá abuse èèyàn tàbí láti ṣe kankan, ṣùgbọ́n ká mọrú ìlú tá a wà, káwọn ìjọba wa ó sì gbọ́. Ẹnjìníà ẹ jẹ́ kí gbogbo èèyàn ẹ listen dáadáa, ẹ dákun, èdè Gẹ̀ẹ́sì ni ó ṣeé ṣe kí n máa break ẹ̀ láàrin kí n máa ṣàwọn àlàyé kan kẹtùn wa máa tún gbọ́. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ ẹ gbọ́ dáadáa to the end. Ẹnjìníà bá gbé sókè ẹ jẹ́ ká gbọ́.
I am the director of his foundation, Sunday Ademola Foundation. For the past 2-3 years now, I also happen to be one of his media aides before we started the journey of Yoruba Nation. Can you narrate what happened in the midnight of July 1st, 2021 at Chief Sunday Igboho's residence in Soka area of Ibadan? It is an unforgettable day in the history of Yoruba people because when everyone else was greeted Happy New Month, we were greeted in a way we never expected. We were greeted as if we were in a battlefield. We woke up to find ourselves in that mess. It was a misuse of power by the present government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I have been minding my speech about the events of that day because a lot of people are still suffering from psychological trauma. What happened that day alone can take one's life. How did it all happen? My house was not far from Chief Sunday Igboho's house, and being a father to me, I have access to him and he has access to me. He did call me anytime to run errands for me. I was in my personal house around 12 a.m., but I have a message to pass across to him, which I could not deliver by phone. I moved from my house to his residence at exactly 12 a.m. and met with him. We discussed till around 1 a.m. and we were outside with one of our people till around 1:30 a.m. In his house, I have a chalet he allocated to me as one of his associates. At exactly 1:30 a.m., he moved into his building, others treated into their home. And I also moved in my own, but exactly 1:35 a.m., I started hearing gunshots and wondered what was happening. My chalet is directly facing the main gate, and I opened the window to peep to see what was happening outside. My greatest shock, I couldn't see anybody, but
mo fẹ́ kẹ́ ẹ farabalẹ̀ dákun láti ibi tó ti mú yìí gan-an ni o. Kẹ́ ẹ bá ń gbọ́ dáadáa, ó bà mí nínú jẹ́ gan-an. Ó dùn mí wọnú egungun wípé ọkùnrin tó ń sọ̀rọ̀ yìí ó ní ìyàwó ọlọ́mọ tiẹ̀ o, ó nílé tiẹ̀ tí ń gbé, oúnjẹ iṣẹ́ rẹ̀ tí ń ṣiṣẹ́ oúnjẹ òòjọ́ rẹ̀, ó lọ gbaṣẹ́ iṣẹ́ tó tún fẹ́ ṣe. Ẹ máa rí wọ́n jí owó tiẹ̀ gan-an, Nàìjíríà sójà gbowó ẹ̀. Nàìjíríà ẹ bá ń pa máìkì yìí, ẹ wá tún play ẹ̀ káwọn èèyàn gbọ́ láti bẹ̀yẹn. Mo fẹ́ kàn farabalẹ̀ gbọ́ dáadáa ni. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ ẹ listen sí dáadáa, ẹ listen sí dáadáa, ojú ò ní tiwa. Ẹ gbé òkè.
I had sporadic fire guns. Whenever I had fire, they would shoot at the building. As a Muslim, I started reciting different verses of the Quran, believing it might be the end of my life. While still peeping through the window, I I could see 2 DSS personnel inside the house. They came through the fence because they could not force their way outside. So some of them jumped the fence and came in to open the gate for the others. When they opened the gate, I saw that they were dressed in black and were putting on helmets. They were dressed like they were on a battleground facing Boko Haram. I heard them calling themselves, "Come in 2-2." I immediately woke the boy that was with me and I told him that we needed to start preparing for our burial because there was no way to escape. There were more than 100 personnel inside the building, comprising the DSS and soldiers. They shot sporadically everywhere. When they got to any chalet or any of the rooms, they fired directly. I started praying and I am thankful that God saved my life. The shooting continued for 3 hours. When they got to my chalet, I opened the door for them. They marched on my head on the floor. I had collected around 300,000 from Chief Sunday Igboho, which I wanted to use to buy something the following morning. One of the soldiers picked up the money. They demanded my gun and I told them, do I look like someone who can shoot? Do I look like someone who can operate a gun? They matched my hand until I was handcuffed. They then took.
Ṣẹ́yìn gbọ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn ṣá dáadáa ṣá. Ṣé owó yẹn gan ni wọ́n ní kán wá gbà ni? Which means wo is like àbí pé yàn rob. Ẹni agbára láti lò léèyàn lórí ẹ sì ló bó ṣe wù yín. Ọkùnrin tó ń sọ̀rọ̀ sóhun ní Sunday Igboho tán náà wá gan. Ká tiẹ̀ ní Sunday Igboho náà wá. Ẹ lù ú, ẹ fìyà jẹ ẹ́. Débi pé ẹ gba 300,000 lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀. Ẹ sọ́dà láàbò ara. Ẹ gbowó lọ́wọ́ ẹ gba fóònù ẹ̀. Sójú rẹ̀ jọ ti Igboho. Ṣé ọ̀rọ̀ ẹnu ẹ jọ tó lóye Igboho? Ẹ tún ní ìbọn rẹ̀ dà. Ọlọ́run wá gbà wá lẹ̀. Oníkálùkù ń lo agbára rẹ̀ bó ṣe rí. Oníkálùkù ń lo ipá rẹ̀ bó ṣe rí. Oníkálùkù ń lo ipò rẹ̀ bó ṣe rí. Ṣùgbọ́n Ọlọ́run nínú ìwàláyé ẹ̀ yóò gbà wá lọ́wọ́ alágbára ó ti fa agbára rẹ̀ yọ ayé wa lẹ́nu. Ọ̀rọ̀ tí mo gbọ́ yìí ó ń dùn mí mo sì ń sunkún sínú wípé ṣé ká má gbàyé mọ́ ni? Ṣé ká má gbèlú mọ́ ni? Ṣé àwa gan ò lẹ́tọ̀ọ́ sí àlàáfíà nílùú wa mọ́ ni? Kéèyàn ò kéde pé kéèyàn máa pariwo pé ẹ fún wa ńlẹ̀ bàbá wa ẹ jẹ́ a máa lọ. Ẹ̀yin àgbààgbà ẹ sì ń wòran bí ìyà ṣe ń jẹ ọ̀dọ́ 32 years of age tó náà ní future tó ronú ọ̀la òun ìyà jẹ tó báyìí o nílẹ̀ bàbá ẹ̀. Ẹ wo ẹ jẹ́ káwọn èèyàn gbọ́ ẹ bá ń gbé sókè díẹ̀ sí ká gbọ́ tán kí n tó máa fèsì lé ojú òní tiwa.
Took me to the gate to lie down there with others. At the gate, to my greatest shock, I saw one of my very good brothers, Saheed Oladems, the chief executive officer of Oladems Motor in Oshogbo, in a pool of blood. Likewise, afar. We were still together around 12:30 a.m., but the two of them were already gone down. After we were being handcuffed and laid on the floor, they started destroying the vehicles in the compound, threatening to burn down the house and saying all sorts of things. They also made roll call of the people in the house. That was what happened. But to the glory of God, we are here today. The DSS spokesman, Peter Afonanya, said Igboho men engaged the operatives in a gun duel before you guys were overpowered after 2 of Igboho's aide were gunned down. Who among you were firing at DSS men? Nothing of such happened. Nobody retaliated. Nobody exchanged gunshots with them. You know the Nigerian military. If anybody had retaliated by exchanging gunshots, you know what could have happened. Those they killed did exchange guns with them. Afar was an innocent man. He was killed in the waiting room of Chief Sunday Igboho while he was praying. He was a cleric
and he could not see. He was blind. On getting to the waiting room, they just fired straight and gunned him down. Also, Adogon did not in any way exchange gunshots with them. He was shot in the bedroom while he was hiding. What about the narrative that the security agent used a mortar to smash Adogon's head when he refused to die after being shot? Nothing of such happened. He was shot in the bedroom. As an eyewitness to the events of that midnight, exactly how many people died? 2 people died, Afa and Odogon. Where are their remains? When we were being taken to the DSS office in Abuja from Ibadan, we got to Ekiti together with the office corps. At the DSS office in Ekiti, we noticed that they took the corpse of Adogon and Afa away in a Hilux vehicle. So I believe their remains are with the DSS. How many of you were arrested? They arrested 22 people, 12 male and 10 females. When we got to Ekiti, at the entrance of the DSS office, they freed 9 of the ladies after asking every one of them, who is Lady K? So they only took Lady K with the men to Abuja. Out of 12 men, 1 of us was a police officer and escort of Adongon. The officer was not paraded in Abuja. Instead, 12 of us, including Lady K, were paraded. Has the officer been released? Yes, he was released before us. There were reports that the DSS picked up some cats found in Igboho's house, CCTV brain bus, among other things. What are the things the DSS took from Igboho's house at night? They took gold, money, our phones, which we are still with them. What went away with they went away with the CCTV. And one of the cats, after killing about 4 or 5 cats, they went away with a big MP3. They went away with a lot of things. They went away with the cats, believing Chief Sunday Igboho turned to the cats. The DSS also claimed in a statement that they recovered some guns and ammunition from Igboho's house that night. How true is that? They are in better position to explain where they got that from. But there was a police officer in the house and he had a gun. Maybe they took the gun of the police officer. Was Igboho at home during that raid? Yes, he was at home. The DSS saw him. They can't deny that because that night they came with 3 herbalists. After shooting at so many corners of the house, they see him again. So they believe he was hiding, not knowing he was in the building. Chief Sunday Igboho is not an ordinary man. He is the Akoni Odua of Yoruba land and a real son of Oduduwa. When the DSS could not find him, they brought in their herbalists and they started chanting incantations, wanting him to come back. The herbalists later told the DSS that Baba Igboho had turned to a cat. That was when they started killing the cats. I believe they know he has a metaphysical powers. That was why they came in with herbalists to get him at all costs. But God was not ready to put his life in the hands of the DSS. How did you recognize the herbalists? Were they donning amulets and charms? They wore ordinary clothes, not traditional attire, but when the DSS could not find Chief Sunday Igboho, they called them in and the herbalists started chanting incantation. What is the number of the security operatives that came for the raid? The DSS operatives were more than 20 and most of them were from Oyo, while the soldiers were more than 200. I could count about 87 vehicles when they are taking us away. They came with ambulances too, believe it?
ṣe rí bó ṣe ń lọ. Mo fẹ́ máa wọn gbólóhùn mẹ́ta jáde. Ó sì ń rẹ ọkàn mi bí mo ṣe ń gbọ́. Ó ń dùn mí dénú bí mo ṣe ń gbọ́. DSS kó babaláwo mẹ́ta dání. Herbalist mẹ́ta. Àwọn náà wọnú ilé Sunday Igboho wọ́n wá ń pọ̀fọ̀. Ẹjọ́ ṣógun láyé yìí ni bó báyé bá tiẹ̀ wá dógun ṣé àti ọ̀tá àtọ̀rẹ́ làwọn gbógun tì. Kí ló dé lómi ò sí di kí nǹkan ó dá láyé náà? Ẹjọ́ gbogbo ẹ̀yin tọ́lọ́run bá fún ní agbára àtúnṣe. gbogbo èyí tí Ọlọ́run bá fi sí ipò kan ṣe jẹ́ àlò dáadáa. Àgbààgbà ẹ wà ńlẹ̀ yìí, ẹ̀yin tẹ́ ẹ ti ṣèwé rí, tẹ́ ẹ ti ṣọ̀dọ́ rí, ẹ wà ńlẹ̀ yìí, ẹ̀yin náà sì ń lọ báyìí. Ṣé nínú hílà yìí ló tẹ́ fi wá sílé rẹ̀? Ṣé ẹ rojọ́ lọ́dọ̀ Ọlọ́run? Mo pè ó, mo ń fa àkókò yìí, mo ń pe ẹ̀yin àgbààgbà, ẹ̀yin ọba aládé, ẹ̀yin kábíyèsí adé orí ọrùn ìlẹ̀kẹ̀. Èmi ń bẹ̀ yín lásìkò yìí, sì dá sọ̀rọ̀ ìkó tó pẹ́ jù. Ṣé ó yẹ kí ìran tiwa náà tó experience irú àwọn ìyà burúkú báyìí, ìfipámúni fìyà jẹni tó báyìí? Ṣó yẹ kó rí bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣá? Ṣó yẹ kó máa lọ báyìí ṣá? Wọ́n ní DSS ò lè sọ pé àwọn ò fojú àwọn rí Sunday Igboho, wọ́n rí, ṣùgbọ́n kò ṣe mú ni. Ọlọ́run ò fi lé wọn lọ́wọ́. Pẹ̀lú babaláwo tán gbédé náà, ẹ wá ń bọ ohun ìní ẹ̀jẹ̀. Àwọn babaláwo náà ó padà sọ ó ti dolóńgbò, ẹ wá ń bọ́ lóńgbò ìjà, wọ́n ń gbó lóńgbò lọ, wọ́n ń ba gbogbo mọ́tò jẹ́, wọ́n ń ba gbogbo ohun ìní jẹ́, kí ẹ má bàa rí àṣírí ohun tó ṣẹlẹ̀ nínú ilé lọ́jọ́ náà. Wọ́n mú brainball sí CCTV, wọ́n gbé lọ, n tó lè ká gbogbo tán ṣẹlẹ̀, wọ́n gbé lọ. Wọ́n gún gbogbo àwọn nǹkan tó ń pa lè fi rìkọ́dù, wọ́n gbé lọ. Ìwà tó wá dùn mí jù rèé, bóyá torí pé mi náà wà nípele pé mo ní ìpèníjà ojú. Àṣé àfáà yẹn, àṣé onípèníjà ojú, àṣé àfáà yẹn ò ríran, ẹ̀dẹ̀ tó pa á, ẹ̀dẹ̀ tó yìnbọn fún. Ẹjọ́ Àdògán tó jẹ́ pé oníṣẹ́ tiẹ̀ lọ́wọ́ kádìlà ní gbogbo, ó tún wá ní ọ́dìlẹ̀ ọlọ́pàá lẹ́yìn. Ṣé arúfin nù? Ẹ̀yin lẹ ṣòfin, ẹ̀yin lẹ takò, ọwọ́ yín ló ti gba ọlọ́pàá, ẹ̀yin náà lẹ tún padà pa á. Ẹ gbé ọlọ́pàá, ẹ tún gbé máwọn èèyàn lọ, ojú ọ̀nà lẹ ti fọlọ́pàá lẹ̀. Ṣó wá yẹ kó rí báyìí? Ṣó yẹ kó rí báyìí? Èmi ò ní sunkún torí omijé ń gbọ̀n mí. Ó dàbí pé tí n bá kúkú bí omijé òun jáde bí mo ń sunkún gan, kò sọ kì í sọ lọ́nà àbáyọ. Ṣùgbọ́n gbogbo ẹ̀yin àgbààgbà yìí, mo bẹ̀ yín, ẹ̀yin mọ̀mọ́, ẹ̀yin bàbá, ẹ ti dàgbà, ẹ̀yin náà ń lọ, ẹ fọmọ́lẹ̀, bọ́mọ yín dàgbà ẹ ti fọmọ mọ́lẹ̀. Ṣénú ìyà yìí náà lájọ wà? Ṣénú ìpọ́njú yìí náà lájọ wà? Àfáà tó níyàn ọmọ rẹ̀ ò ní jẹ tíra. Ó dà, èmi ò sọ, màá tó sọ, kàkà kó rí bẹ́ẹ̀. Ọ̀rọ̀ wa tó dàbí ìgbà tó jẹ́ pé èdè ilẹ̀ Yorùbá, èdè kan wà tó fi di ilẹ̀ Yorùbá ni. Mò ń bọ̀ ń bi ìyẹn. Ó ṣáà ń dùn mí, ó ń ṣe mí bákan, wá ń rú mi lójú pé bó là ń bá lọ. Ṣùgbọ́n mo mọ̀ pé Ọlọ́run tó ní ayé àtọ̀run yóò gbà wá. Mo mọ̀ pé Ọlọ́run tó dá ayé àti ọ̀run yóò jà fún wa. Ṣé bẹ́ẹ̀ gbọ́? Iskilu wákìlì tó fẹ́ gba ìgbàràpá mọ́ wọn lọ́wọ́ tán. Ṣèbí inú sẹ́ẹ̀lì tán fi sí ní Ọ̀yọ́, wọ́n tún láwọn Fúlàní gbébọn lọ́bẹ̀, wọ́n tún lọ tú Iskilu lẹ̀, wọ́n tún pààyàn, wọ́n tú Iskilu wákìlì lẹ̀, wọ́n gbé lọ. Ẹ mú Sunday Igboho ẹ tì mọ́ bí tó wà. Ọba tó ń ṣèdájọ́ àfihàn pinran yóò ṣèdájọ́. Ọlọ́run á ṣèdájọ́. Ọlọ́run á ṣèdájọ́. Ọlọ́run yóò ṣèdájọ́. Ẹlẹ́dàá ọ̀run òun ayé á ṣèdájọ́. Mo mọ̀ pé Ọlọ́run ò dákẹ́ lórí ọ̀rọ̀ wa. Yóò ṣèdájọ́. Yóò ṣèdájọ́. Mo nígbàgbọ́ yẹn dọ̀la pé Ọlọ́run tó wà láàyè yóò ṣèdájọ́. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni, yóò ṣèdájọ́. Ọlọ́run á ṣèdájọ́. Ògo ni f'Ọlọ́run lókè ọ̀run. Ìfẹ́ ọ̀tá ò ní ṣẹ lórí gbogbo wa. Ẹ wò ó, màá padà wá lọ́jọ́ mi. ṣé ká ìfiwálẹ̀ ká gbọ́ tán ni ká gbọ́ tán ẹ já gbọ́ tán ẹ bá ń pa máìkì ẹ jẹ́ káwọn èèyàn ó gbọ́ tán gbogbo àgbáyé kí wọ́n gbọ́ tán pátápátá ọlọ́run á ràn wá lọ́wọ́ ojú òsì ní tiwa.
A war zone. How did you know most of the DSS operatives were from Oyo State? After they took us from the house, the number of DSS operatives that followed us to Abuja was reduced drastically. Were the police also involved in the raid? No, only Nigerian Army and the DSS came that day. If there were this many security operatives during the raid, as you said, how was Sunday Igboho able to escape? Why you, his aides, could not? I am not fortified with anything, but I believe in the Almighty God. Chief Sunday Igboho is a human being like everyone, but he is a special creature. No one can face what he faced that night and escape. There was a lady in one of their vehicles that was saying, "Get him dead or alive." From Ibadan, you were whisked to Abuja the same day you were arrested. Can you briefly narrate your ordeal while with the secret police? I was there for 62 days. It was part of the sacrifice on going back. It was dehumanizing to be in custody without seeing the sun or the moon for months, being maltreated, given food that a dog could not eat, sleeping in bare floor for 62 days, eating in the same place where I defected, the same place where I urinated, the same place where I observed my prayers. We were given 20 naira cowbell and a loaf of bread of less than 50 naira to eat per day. There was no access to lawyers, no access to family members. It was hell. It was a terrible experience which I do not wish for even my enemy. In the DSS custody, what were the offenses the secret police said you committed? Offense? Even if I had committed an offense, is coming in the dead of the midnight to kill us the solution? I did not commit any offense. When you were interrogated in the DSS custody, what were the questions they asked you? They asked me personal questions and my purpose of being in Igboho's house. They also asked for my bank account, Facebook name, and my village address. They also asked me a lot of questions. They asked me to tell them how long I had known Chief Sunday Igboho, and I told them I cannot disown him no matter the situation. Were you kept in an underground cell in DSS custody? The first place we were kept for the first 2 days in the DSS custody was an underground cell where if anything happened, we couldn't know. From there, we graduated to another cell where we had access to Fulani, Hausa detainees who don't understand English language. Some of them were suspected bandits and Boko Haram members. There were others who were not Hausa.
Ṣé ẹ ti gbọ́? Ẹ wò ó rẹ ọkàn mi torí irú orílẹ̀-èdè tí mo ti bára mi. Ó rẹ ọkàn mi torí ìlú tí mo bára mi nínú ẹ̀. Ó rẹ ẹ̀mí mi torí tí mo bá ní ayọ̀ kan wà lọ́kàn mi, irọ́ mo pa. Ògo ni fọ́lọ́run lókè ọ̀run. Ẹ bá ń subscribe s'Olúwa Lówẹ́ TV. Ẹ ríngì notification bell. Ẹ lè WhatsApp mi lórí nọ́mbà yìí 08071908810. WhatsApp nìkan. Ẹ ra ànúgbà. Ẹ follow mi lórí Shito Music. Ó dàbọ̀. Ẹ ṣé púpọ̀. Bye for now.